All right, welcome into our first ever Marauder Moments. This is, I think, what we're going to call this. And today I'm joined by three special guests, head coach of the baseball team, John Sheehan, and Millersville alums, Dan Stoltzfus and Chaz McCormick. Both of these guys, former All-Americans and future Hall of Famers in their own right, for sure. And the reason why we're bringing them on today is to spotlight great moments in Millersville history and hear from the people that made those moments. And today we're going to be spotlighting a 2015 PSAC semifinal game that Millersville won 7-6 in 10 innings against Mercyhurst. And that win pushed Millersville to the championship game where it won its first PSAC championship in 17 years. Just for a little bit of background here before we get into the conversation, Millersville defeated number 8 Seton Hill the day before 8-4, and then faced number 9 Mercyhurst. So both of those teams, Mercyhurst and Seton Hill, won 40 games that year. Millersville did too. The PSAC had 3 top 15 teams in that tournament that year. And the win over Seton Hill that Chris Murphy pitched the complete game in, it really kind of felt like, at least for me, from watching it on the sidelines, I don't know how you guys felt about it, it felt a little bit like getting the monkey off the back, because Seton Hill had been the team that had knocked you guys out of the postseason the 2 previous years. John, do you think that getting past Seton Hill and moving on from that, getting over the hump a little bit, do you think that that helped your postseason run that year and get to the PSAC championship?
I think there's no doubt about it. I mean, that Seton Hill team was really good. That tournament was really good in general, and I think anytime you can knock off a team like that, you build some confidence. And the postseason and tournament play is all about momentum. So we definitely need momentum when you're going to win a tournament. In that case, I mean, especially the gauntlet of the PSAC every year, that was a big momentum builders.
And then after we went over Seton Hill, you go up against Mercyhurst, the game we're going to be talking about. And you guys had a ton of battles against Mercyhurst in the postseasons throughout history. Actually, the year before, in 2014, you guys won 7-6 on a walk-off hit by Dan Johnson. Dan, for you, as a guy that had a lot of battles with Mercyhurst, what was it like going up against those guys in the postseason every year?
Yeah, it was just, I mean, we knew we were going to see them at some point, and they kind of gotten us a little bit earlier on in my career, at least. I mean, they always had really good pitching. They always had really good hitting. They always matched up pretty well with us. So every time we played them, we knew it was going to be a battle. And I know we all look forward to it. We like being challenged. We wanted to get them, and we wanted to beat them in playoffs every year.
So, yeah, the reason why we are here talking about this specific game is Chaz and Dan were 2 of the big players in this game. Millersville's trailing 6-3 in the bottom of the ninth, and we have an epic comeback that includes back-to-back home runs by these 2 guys, and then a walk-off double by Chaz in the 10th. So, Chaz, there's a lot of discussion in baseball and really in sports in general about if clutch is a real thing. A lot of people say, it's just, those are good players playing in those situations. It's not real. What do you believe about clutch?
I mean, you got to love playing in that moment. I mean, I want to almost give some credit to Baker, because if we go back to the first, second inning, I'm kind of like, for my last 6. I'm trying to do too much in playoffs. And I remember Baker kind of tells me, hey, just calm down. Like, let the game come to you. And then, like, right after that, that's when, at least I started to get things going. And, I mean, you can't be afraid of the moment. You gotta, think pressure is a privilege. You gotta want pressure.
Yeah. And Dan, you hit a key homer in this game, but also a week later against Seton Hill in the regional, a walk-off home run as well that same year.
Wow.
You had some big moments throughout your career, some of those late game at bats. When you go to the plate in a situation like that, did your approach at the plate or your mindset change at all?
Not really. I mean, we were so locked in on what coach's hitting approach was that it all just became second nature. It was, I got into the box the same way every time based on that situation. I was thinking this before I came up, and that's what I was committed to the whole time. So it really was just another at bat. And with the team we had, I mean, if you look how many different guys had walk-off hits or big shutdown pitching performances. Our team just loved that. Like, it was just the routine and all the mental training that we did with Coach Sheehan. Those moments just ended up being just another at bat or another batter that a pitcher was facing. It was all just relaxed and normal. And we knew that somebody, whoever's turn it was to come up and do it, was going to be the one that comes through.
And John, maybe this is an opportunity here where before we get into actually breaking down the plays and the at-bats, is there anything that players can do, maybe somebody that's watching this, to talk about preparing for the mental side of moments like this where you get up, it's a close game, maybe you're down a run, down 3 runs, the game's on the line, you have a chance to win it. Is there anything that players can do from a mental aspect to prepare for moments like this?
I think the program is, number one, it starts with the expectation to play in the postseason. From a recruiting aspect, we're looking for guys that love that moment. One of our biggest recruiting priorities is poise, and we're looking for guys that want to compete, that love. Just like Chazzy said, pressure is one of those things that you've got to enjoy, that you got to want to be a part of, and if you're scared of those moments, there's really isn't any room for you to be in our program to begin with. And I hate to be that blunt, but it's so true. And then the second thing is we compete in almost everything we do, whether it's taking fungos and square drill or finding ways to compete with quality plate appearances and inter squads and strike percentages. I mean, there's all different ways to compete. Our Marauder challenges in the fall are competitive and put guys in adverse situations. So our end goal is so that when they get to the end of the year, whether it's midnight or 8 o'clock in the morning in tough tournament situations, that guys are prepared for those tough spots. And I think that these two would agree with me. Teammates would agree with me that they were the cream of the crop in those situations, and they're still guys that our guys look up to in those spots.
All right, so let's get into actually breaking down these at-bats here. Just to set the stage a little bit, you're facing Ben Nolan in this 9th inning, who only gave up 2 runs the whole season, and they just happen to be in these two at-bats back-to-back, basically on 3 pitches is all we see here, and you guys are able to tie it up. David Summerfield is the guy that gets on base in front of Chaz. He hits a 2-0 pitch for a double. And Summerfield was a guy that year, hit 452, 505 on base percentage. So really no surprise that he was setting the stage for this, a big part of that team as well. Chaz, when you come up to the plate here, Summers on second base. And at that point, you mentioned it already that you were struggling in that tournament. You were 1 for 10 actually at that point with a bunt single. And the first pitch you see, you hit over the right center field wall. What do you remember about coming up in that situation? And were you looking aggressive there to try to swing, on an early count pitch?
Yeah, well, I remember obviously Summerfield had a really good at bat, but I remember Nolan. He paying attention through the game. He kept throwing big hanging curveballs for strikes, and that's kind of all he was throwing. So obviously, first pitch I sat on it, and he threw it right down the middle.
Okay, so you knew what you were looking for. And when you're struggling at the plate a little bit, even today, playing in the minors, when you're struggling, do you find yourself becoming a little bit more aggressive at the plate, or is it the reverse of that?
Yeah. When I'm struggling, I try to do too much, and that gets you in trouble. You got to make adjustments, and for me, that was huge. Going into pro ball, struggled. Then I just had to make simple adjustments, but. It's you just gotta you gotta have a controlled aggression up the plate.
Yeah. I do have a confession to make at this point in time. In this era, it was my responsibility to hit record on the iPad we were using to record video, and we were down 6-3, and I was also taking pictures down on the field in different places, and I'd go back up, and being down 6-3, I had actually put everything away and started working on my game recap because I thought that over.
Wow.
And so that's why there's no video of Chaz's home run, because I didn't have it up. but I did
We got
get it
Dan's
back.
home run. We got Dan's home run.
We did, and I'm actually gonna try to share it right now. I'm gonna try to share screen here. Dan, you're coming up here, and this is also a first pitch swing here, and this ball goes out long. I mean, it's straightaway center field, basically 425 there in center field. It was a bomb. Dan, at that point, you tied it up. I mean, that's 6-6. Everybody's fired up. Tell me about your at bat when you're coming up to the plate there. You're down 1 run. What are you looking for in that situation?
Yeah, in that spot, I know Chaz said he was a little struggling with the swing there too. I remember I had been getting a couple hits, but I felt a little funky. So I remember coming into this, I mean, I'm not trying to hit a home run there. I'm trying to just get on base because I know somebody will drive me in. Was looking to stay gap to gap. But the one thing that I really remember is that I was thinking in my head, straight back, straight forward, because I was pulling off the ball a little bit, and I was just my simple straight back load and then straight back saying, go up the middle, stay in the gaps. And he just gave me a pitch hit there, and I got the barrel on it, and went out.
Went a long way.
Yeah, I actually was reading an article just a couple of weeks ago. Ken Griffey Jr. was talking, and he said that he never tried to hit home runs. He was just a line drive hitter. He always tried to hit line drives. Did you try to hit home runs? Like, I mean, I know you said in this situation you're just trying to get on base, and that's what happened. But do you ever get up to the plate in those situations and say, I'm going to win this game right here?
No, not really. I mean, there's times where I know I've gone up and have maybe had a little extra anger or aggression in the swing, but there was rarely any times where I would come up and say, I'm going to hit this ball out. It was more sticking in our approach, looking for what I'm going to look for, and then trying to just put the barrel on. Because if you get the barrel onto the ball, it's either going to be, hard hit, double, or it's going to go out. So I always just tried to make solid contact and just kind of let it happen. Because like I was saying earlier, we had confidence in everyone on our team. I have the confidence where if I get on base that somebody's going to hit me in. With me, it usually helps if it's at least a double because I don't usually score from first very often. But
on a bomb like that, when do you know it's out?
You kind of have an idea right away, but just from everything we do with getting our times down to first base and whatnot, you really don't see anyone on Millersville baseball really ever watching anything. So most of the time it's you hit it, you kind of have an idea, you get your sprint in to first base, and then you kind of look up and see if our fans are going crazy or not.
And John, I know you were pumped up there in the third base box there. This was an incredibly talented team. We were actually just talking not too long ago about how many prospective Hall of Famers are on this team, this 2015 team. It's pretty crazy. But
right.
Even down 3 in the 9th, did this surprise you at all?
It always surprises me. I don't know. There's times when I stand in the third base coaching box when you're down or in a close game, you don't have control. I mean, and as a coach, it's just a reminder that you don't have control in those situations. So I think anytime guys like this, when you look at those 3 hitters, Summerfield, McCormick, and Stoltzfus, 3 just phenomenal hitters in our, just career guys. When you go back and you think about the top 10 hitters, I mean, those guys have to be mentioned, at least in my career so far, back to back in the lineup. Looking back, they're capable of it, but at the time, you're witnessing history in our program. It's pretty cool to be a part of it, just to watch those guys play. Without injury, I mean, that might have been one of the best teams we've ever had, and I think injuries prevented them from really capitalizing on it, and maybe putting together a run like we did in 2016. But a special group for sure, Ethan.
So we go to the 10th, bottom of the 10th. The top of the 10th, Dylan Boisclair is the pitcher, gives up a double and then catches a line drive, doubles a kid off second base. So we go to the bottom of the 10th. Tyler Orris leads off, lines out to start the inning. Then Summerfield comes up, works a full count, fouls off 3 straight pitches, and gets on base. I'm just going to roll the footage there. It gets the outside pitch, and he's on. That brings up Chaz. And Chaz, this is a different pitcher here. This is a guy that's a little bit of a different arm angle, sidearm slot. I actually have some stats on him.
We saw him a lot.
Yeah. He was their team leader in saves that year, 10 saves. Do you remember what you're looking for when you come up? You said when you went up against Nolan, you were looking for a curveball away. This pitcher throwing a little bit kind of sidearm. What are you looking for?
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously I just hit my previous at bat. I hit a curveball out first pitch. So I'm looking dead red fastball first pitch. And I knew he threw a little harder. I knew it was maybe like 87, 88 from the side. So I was kind of making sure I had to be short to the ball because, this ballpark's like a launch pad, so it can jump pretty quick. So, yeah, obviously first pitch fastball, and he threw it right there. And I was just short, and I just barely put it right down the right field line.
Yeah, and the park that we're playing in here in Butler, Kelly Automotive, it has that weird right field corner where there's actually like a cutout around the bullpen. And when you hit it down the line, you never know where it's going to go. I guess there's actually an area where the fielders aren't even allowed to go in. So you hit the ball down the line. John, as Summer is coming around here to second base, of course, it's also a terrible vantage point to try to get highlights from. But when did you know I'm sending him? He's going to score?
I think in that situation, as soon as it goes off the bat and you think it's extra bases, immediately as a coach, you're thinking, all right, we may not get another shot at this. We got to take a chance if there is a chance. And if he gets thrown out, it's probably momentum builder. But then again, you got Chaz who can just fly in scoring position. So I knew we were in pretty good shape either way. So we were going to be really aggressive in that spot. And it paid off.
Yeah, and even so, you still have Dan's on deck at that. So you have to feel pretty confident with Dan on deck that he could bring Chaz in from second base.
Yeah, pick your poison, right? I mean, you just named Tyler Orris there to lead off the inning, too. It's like Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer in that lineup. I mean, those guys can make you look pretty good as a coach for sure.
All right, so the last bit of breakdown here is we got to check out Coach. Look at the hops here.
Yes.
Sprint to the plate. I know that
the fist pump is where it is too. That's on there because that'll knock anybody out if you get caught with that fist pump.
I know that was a popular highlight after the game. You guys give Coach a little bit of a hard time after that.
Yeah, Pirelli was like, yeah, Sheehan seems pretty exciting winning this game.
Oh man.
I'll tell you what, anytime you could beat Mercyhurst in the playoffs was a reason to get excited because there were some absolute showdowns with that group. And, yeah, I was pretty fired up.
They were super good that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely some great battles. And this one was definitely a memorable one for sure. Raised deficit in the 9th, back-to-back home runs, and then the walk-off double from Chaz. Some great memories there for sure. And you guys go on to win the PSAC Championship, and I got the little memento here. The ring.
There it is.
Nice.
There it is. PSAC Championship ring. The first one in 17 years for Millersville, and quite a memorable afternoon there in tournament. It really felt though after you guys won this game, you had beaten Seton Hill, beat Mercyhurst. Obviously, East Stroudsburg was waiting in the championship, but I mean, you guys probably felt different than I did. But at this point, I just kind of felt like we already won it. It's over.
Yeah, it felt like a championship game.
It's not – you don't take anything away from East Stroud because they had a good team that year, but it's almost like when Team USA knocks off the Russians and, I don't think Mercyhurst was the Russians or anything like that. I mean, they weren't undefeated in their last 15 years of international play or whatever it was. But at the same time, I mean, you knock off those two juggernauts, and it was definitely a relief and allowed us to kind of calm down and play in the final.
Yeah.
And just lastly, Dan, what does being a PSAC champion and having that to always kind of keep in your back pocket and something you can always go to, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, we put in a ton of work coming into this, from the 5-man workouts, our team challenges, all the stuff we do. I mean, going to summer ball and playing pretty much all year round. There's a ton of work. So anytime that you can be rewarded by winning any type of championship, whether it's PSACs, whether that's regionals, anything like that, to be able to look back on it and just be like, yeah, all that stuff that we did led us to that. It's pretty awesome. Honestly, I have goosebumps just already, just thinking about all this stuff, watching the videos. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, this was a blast. Thanks, guys. And Chaz, I'm seriously sorry, man, that I did not catch your home run. It lives.
That's okay.
It lives in our memories. It lives on in our memories and in our hearts. But
You gave up on us. You gave up on us.
No. See, the way it works is when you're working on a deadline, we do this all the time, man. We get the head start and we start writing it. And then, if something changes, we can go back and fix it. But then we get the head start if it works out. So, but I'll admit, I gave up. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, this whole thing, just bringing this up, it hurts right now. We should be out there right now playing, and it's hard to watch, to be honest. I miss these guys a ton, and I wish I was watching Chazzy, on my phone every night, and I wish I was out at Slippery Rock right now for the conference tournament. So, but this is awesome. Some great memories, Ethan.
Well, thanks a lot.
Ethan.
Thanks a lot for joining me. I appreciate you jumping on, and hopefully everybody enjoys the story.